Hi, let's make a postcard with watercolor and ink. If we are going to paint cherry blossoms, we'll need to pick the right color. I'm Michelle Cooper, and welcome to my studio. The last swatch here that I'm painting is called Tyrian Rose from Sennelier. It's also called Opera Rose from other manufacturers. Aside from the light and dark values of each pigment, it's good to know its lifting properties. Sakura, or cherry blossoms, are a complicated looking flower, but we can start small and keep it simple. These are some of the materials you might like to have on hand: watercolor postcards, a dip pen, a water pen, some Q-tips, some watercolor, and some brown ink. I'm going to start with my paper at about a 20 to 30 degree angle at the top. And then I'm going to use my dip pen and my brown ink to draw the kitten first. And then after that, we'll do the watercolor part of the sakura blossoms. The ink I'm using is Noodler's brown ink, and it's water soluble. So if you can get to it soon enough with your water brush, you can smudge it a little bit and then add wet into wet to kind of get the texture of the fur. If I alternate the ink onto the damp surface and then wet it with the water brush and make the darker passages that I want, and then come back with ink again to refill at the angle that I'm painting, the ink will kind of drizzle down and make a fur-like texture. You can also dip your tip of your water brush into the ink and add some of that if you want a little darker area. And just keep doing it, and over and over until you get the value you like and the texture you want. I think I can use my pen to make some cute little whiskers here. I have a set of Writech rollerball pens, and they come in several different colors. It's a fine tip water-soluble ink that comes in it. If you don't have anything like that, that's fine. You don't really need to do this step, but it's kind of fun to play around with new things, and it's water-soluble, which is compatible with my other materials. I'm going to start painting the cherry blossoms with my Q-tip. I've dipped it in water first, and then tapping it onto the paper, maybe rolling it a little bit to get some random dots of pale pink color. My palette is a plastic yogurt lid. I want to be sure to keep these first marks relatively light, because later on I'll put in some darker spots on top of them to give a feeling of depth. And I really don't want to draw too many blossoms individually, because this is supposed to be just loose and impressionistic. I'm leaving some spaces in between these clusters of blossoms for the branches that I'm going to paint in between. And for that, I will need to add something to my palette. So that means I'm going to add the Noodler's brown ink and kind of emulate the Asian style of painting on the branches with the new Q-tip. darker towards the thicker part of the branches and then coming back in with my water brush to make the thinner, smaller, narrower end branches. You can research this style of painting by looking up Sumier and Chinese brush painting. There are lots of instructive videos on how to paint it that way, and I'm just adapting it to my style with a pretty casual representation here. 1 or 2, maybe 3 leaves. That's all I need on this branch. And then now we're coming in with the darker pink on top of these blossoms, filling in a few gaps, letting the wind come up and scatter some petals for our little kitten to look at. Here's now the warm red color. You notice the difference when you put the warm red on the cool red. It suddenly creates the depths, doesn't it? Now I have some finishing touches with my Writech pen, maybe darkening a few small spots or adding a branch here or a twig there, just to create some balance and some harmony. But it's easy to overdo it. Okay, I better sign it, and that's it.